from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Hey folks, good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's January 6th, 2021. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and the world of Twitter, as I like to call it. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's show, folks. Today's show is brought to you by our friends and supported by our friends over at Know Before and Wistic. You can give them a shout out. Their links are below. If you are watching, you can catch them and check them out. Today's practitioner brief. We got a lot of things to cover, obviously, but before we do that, a few things. One, our January challenge, InfoSec hires. I want to get 10 people hired this month. So if you're looking for a job or know someone that's looking for a job, they can go on LinkedIn, put a paragraph of their accomplishments and what they're looking for, hashtag InfoSec hires, tag me, tag my great friends over, Renee Small and Naomi Buckwalter and Christopher Fullon and Pete and Stefan Semmelroth and all these guys. And you can watch and help us get the word out. We're going to tag all these great people and help people get a job this January. So before we get into today's practitioner brief, join me for a little coffee this morning. I don't know about you. It's 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I kind of need coffee. So again, my Pete's Coffee Espresso. Typically, the last few days, I've taken a small shot. Now I'm doing a double in my beautiful, by the way, Masters glass. So if you're a golf fan, these are awesome. You can get them at the Masters. All right, guys, let's get right into today's practitioner brief. If you're listening on your favorite podcast listening platform, so make sure to subscribe. If you're watching us right now, folks, live, you can comment below, ask your questions. We'll get right into everything we've got coming up here. So let's get right into what's happening, where the NSA shares guidance tools to mitigate weak encryption protocols. The National Security Agency has now shared guidance on how to detect and replace outdated TLS protocol versions with up-to-date and secure variants. The U.S. Intelligence Agency also highlights the dangers behind using depreciated TLS, including both risks and sensitive data exposure and decryption of network traffic in the man-of-the-middle attacks. NSA recommends that only TLS 1.2 and 1.3 be used, and that SSL 2.0, 3.0, TLS 1.0, and TLS 1.1 not be used. Part of this has to do with Solarwinds, which we're going to get to later because it's just a gift that keeps on giving at this point. So one of the aspects of Solarwinds that we're not sure of yet that's kind of been reported was that the attackers were able to steal decryption keys. So the NSA is now kind of asking people to update their encryption keys, update their users. And so updating your TLS configuration, this is thanks to Bleeping Computer, you can actually see it on here. This will also be linked on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. You can see it there as well, and take it from that point. Let's move to a different story for today. Again, another one from Bleeping Computers. Hackers are starting to exploit the backdoor that we spoke about earlier this week, the Zyxel devices, which are your VPN and firewall devices. So threat actors are now actively scanning the internet for open SSH devices, trying to log in to them using the recently patched Zyxel hard-coded credential backdoor. So this was disclosed last month. Zyxel has launched an update that we've reported, but now once there's a vulnerability and the vulnerability's out there, the bad guys are going to start looking to take advantage of it. That's exactly what we're seeing here. So if you're using any Zyxel firewalls in your environment, please make sure to update them. I know a lot of this, by the way, is small to mid-sized businesses, because we did an inventory here, and one of the things we found was that it was predominantly mid-size organizations that were using these devices that a lot of times don't see this. So if you're in security, go through your supply chain, send out this alert to all your vendors, ask them if they're using this, especially ones that are critical within your supply chain. Another warning from Google about a critical Android remote code execution bugs, thanks to a thread post here. So Google has fixed 2 critical bugs affecting its Android handsets. The more serious flaws exist in the Android system component and allows remote attackers to execute arbitrary code. The 2 critical vulnerabilities are part of Google's January Android Security Bulletin, which was released on Monday. The security update addressed 43 bugs overall for the Android operating system. As part of this, Qualcomm, whose chips are used in Android devices, patched a mix of high and critical severity vulnerabilities tied to 15 different bugs. So some of these CVEs are listed right in front of you, and you can see them here. CVE 2021, those have started, folks, and we're already at 300. So 6 days into 2021, folks, we've got over 300 CVEs that I can see here. So we've got Google fixed a tangle of 13 high-severity flaws, includes 8 elevation of privilege issues, 4 information disclosure glitches, and 1 DOS flaw. So Google's rolled out those patches. If you're using Android, please make sure to update that. That is critical for your security and everyone else's as well. Our final story of the day, SolarWinds, the gift that just keeps on giving. Tomorrow, technically tonight, is the Orthodox Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all the Orthodox Christians that celebrate Christmas in January. I will say this. So the U.S. government is now saying Russian state hackers are still likely behind the SolarWinds attack. If it's your first time tuning in, I've talked about this a little bit. The idea that it could be multiple state actors. I personally think China has had a hand in this. It's just too sophisticated for Russians to do this on their own. Not that I'm taking away from the Russians' cyber capabilities at all, but there's aspects of this story that just don't make any sense. Charity Wright and I did a podcast on Christmas Day that's available on our YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast listening platform. You can check it out. We talk about SolarWinds attributions and kind of the TTPs that were used and the IOCs that we've seen, and what does that really mean. So government's solution to SolarWinds is establish more government. So let's talk about that here for just a second. So the FBI, CISA, and ODNI have all come together to create a new power cybersecurity body. So our solution to all things is apparently more government. This is a presidential policy directive 41 from 26 July 2016, and its annex of a cyber unified coordination group has been established. And now that SolarWinds has happened, this group is now in full effect. Here's the challenge with that. Yes, SolarWinds impacted government, but it also impacted the private sector significantly, primarily Microsoft. And what happened to Microsoft here is insane. And so where's the private sector in this? Why aren't we included in all of these cyber unified coordination groups that has been established? So government's idea is let's get more branches of the government to form another group made up of all these different people who have just picked up the phone and worked on cooperation wouldn't need this. But meanwhile, the private sector is kind of left fending on its own. And that's something that we really do have to address over the next year or so. We really do have to address the fact that the government is essentially forming all these different groups. They're excluding the private sector from it, and the private sector needs to be a part of that discussion. So let's hope that that does come on, because if you take a look at SolarWinds, last sentence here includes 425 of the US Fortune 500, all top 10 U.S. telecom companies, the military, the Pentagon, State Department, NASA, NSA, Postal Service, NOAA, DOJ, and the Office of the President. All are SolarWinds customers. But folks, 425 U.S. Fortune companies you're going to form, and you're going to use that presidential directive. Get the private sector involved. That's the only way we're going to address this whole thing. So that's it for our practitioner brief today, folks. I appreciate you watching, tuning in, listening. Please make sure to subscribe. We are going to be back with more tomorrow to wrap up the week. Next week, we kick off our regularly scheduled programming. We'll have a CISO Talk episode 100 will be live a week from today. So make sure you tune into that, a very, very special episode. We'll also have a great tech corner and a CISO Talk backstage with my really, really good friend, Roger Grimes, who is an absolute brilliant mind, and so many more things coming. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You can always comment below on the video. You can contact me directly on LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. I read every single comment and answer every single email I get. Until then, have a great rest of your day, guys, and I'll be back tomorrow.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.